That's a good start. Right, Reshoots getting stuff. Oh, I have to say, it's very atmospheric picture. Very atmospheric shot I've got you there, Skazz.
It's beautiful, isn't it?
Right, we're just waiting for YouTube.
Rather than that huge chunk of white wall that was next to me.
Yeah. You're looking like you're recording like some sort of like manifesto video.
I could be.
For like for a terrorist group of some description.
No, the hair's coming back. I've got to shave that off again. I've got to get the razor on it and just properly like off it goes, and then I'll be part of the terrorist group again.
Indeed.
But I have got a cup of tea for tea day. Which...
Oh yes, it is International Tea Day.
Mm-hmm.
Happy International Tea Day, everybody.
Which I didn't know about it. I already had a cup of tea because being British, it's the only thing I drink.
I'm British, that's why I've got cider. So I'm an alcoholic British man.
I was going to say, when is International Cider Day?
I will find out for you right now.
Is there an International Cider Day?
There's got to be an International Cider Day.
There better be. I'll be depressed if there isn't.
What's in Google search results? June the 3rd!
Woo! Nearly.
World Cider Day, June the 3rd. That'll be that. Oh, you know what that means, Skazz? We'll do our next podcast June the 4th. It's be the day after Cider Day.
So if you can actually talk,
have cider.
Oh mate, just both be like laying on the floor.
Game over Suffolk Ram.
Skazz, yes.
Welcome to episode 192 of the Randers podcast, and as we said, International Drink of Your Choice Day.
Yes.
Tea.
Well, yeah.
So hope we're all well. Hope we're all good.
No, actually, that's International Quake 3 Teabag Day.
Yeah, International Quake Day. Let's have a look for International Quake Day.
You got an International Doom Day. Half-Life Deathmatch Day.
Well, I haven't got an International Quake Day, but I can offer you International Cake Day.
That'll do.
Yeah, which is 25th November.
Yeah, I'll take that. I'll frag some noobs on Cake Day.
Now, we wanted International Doom Day.
Yeah.
National Doom Day. No, there's no International Doom Day, I'm afraid.
Half-Life Deathmatch Day. I mean, technically, you could put that down as the Counter-Strike tournament, the big one that Valve does. That looks. I mean, it's not quite Half-Life, but it's a Half-Life. Well, anyway.
No, I'm just getting lots about Half-Life Day 1, which is the pre-release version of Half-Life. International Half-Life Day. Not much to do there. International Counter-Strike Day. No. International Gaming Day. Come to a video game day. National Video Games Day, September the 12th.
Put it on your calendars, people.
Put it on your calendars.
I'll forget it.
Oh, but then there's another one here that says it's July the 8th.
It's greedy, like me and my birthdays. We've got multiples.
It is. Oh, no. Oh, so... What? This doesn't make any sense.
What's that? What's happened?
So, okay. National Video Game Day happens July the 8th. Its cousin, National Video Game Day is on July the 8th. Its cousin, National Video Games Day, is September the 12th.
Very big difference.
Very big difference. One, you get to play multiple games. One, you get to play one.
Yeah, so one of choice.
yeah. So July the 8th. Let's see where that's in relation to a podcast. Oh, no, it's nowhere near a podcast.
Is that like the Americans and Mother's Day where they get it wrong?
Yes. I think they get Father's Day wrong as well. So
they probably do. It's American, so just wrong.
Yeah.
You can't say that. You just can't say that. That's not fair. We invent many things, therefore we name them and date them correctly. It's like no, you don't. You're American. You can't even get the calendar right.
Do you want to know what other things happened on the July 8th?
Oh, go for it. Let's go.
You've got Be a Kid Again Day. Math 2.0 Day.
Okay.
Okay. National Chocolate with Almonds Day. That is really Pacific.
But what if I don't want almonds?
Well, tough. That's what you've got to have on National Chocolate Almonds Day.
But what if I don't want chocolate?
You've also got National Scud Day, which I'm assuming is like the nuclear missiles.
That's beautiful. I'll take 3.
No, it's not, unfortunately.
Oh, well, what?
It's
what the hell
probably
else
known
is
as National Scud Day. Says it's probably known as National Saviour the Comic Unplug the Drama Day. There, this day is to encourage people of all ages and interests to set aside all drama they have been experiencing in life and simply relax.
That sounds like fucking the millennials will be having a seizure on that day. Then,
yeah,
I prefer the nuke. I prefer the nuke option.
I prefer the nuke option, isn't it? So yeah, so plenty of international days to come up. I'll put the calendar in the show notes so everybody can look at the international days coming up.
Fantastic! I love it. It's great.
I love it. Good.
All useful.
Oh, very useful. Very useful. Very, very useful. Let's put notes there. Right, Skazz. So let's head into games and play. Now, Skazz, I want something I want to talk to you about.
Oh, what have I done wrong? I ain't done nothing.
You ain't done nothing wrong. So we've been playing games tonight. We're playing Demeo, which you've talked about previously in the podcast.
Yeah, tabletop VR board game or not?
Tabletop VR board game. But last live stream,
yeah,
for technical reasons, you couldn't join us on VR.
No.
So you played the client.
Yes, the desktop client.
The desktop client, which was released last month.
Yes. Now, I at one point when that was coming out, we were like, "Is that going to are we going to have to buy that separately?" And Steam at one point did give me the option to buy both. But then I looked a little while before we did the live stream, and if you buy the PC version or the Steam VR version, they give you the PC desktop client as well.
Yes. So which is neat.
Oculus users, you are blessed with the standalone version as well as a PC VR client. You do not get the desktop client as well. I don't think, anyway.
No. So, the question I want to ask you is, because I was watching you play that, and I was watching your stream, obviously, when I was editing together. I think I would prefer the desktop client. I think it makes I think it just looks easier to follow and see what you're doing. You know, everything, your cards are just easy to hand. It's less immersive, but from a playing the game point of view, it looks more straightforward. But obviously, I wasn't playing with it, so I want to hear your thoughts on the desktop client version versus the VR version.
So outright, I think the VR version is easier to play.
Okay.
Better to play because you have better maneuverability. The UI seems cleaner. You can zip in and out and around the board quicker and easier. I did find that moving the camera around on the desktop version just was not a pleasant experience. So
is that just normal, mouse style movement? So
yeah, so you basically have to click and drag around, and it doesn't feel right because sometimes it almost feels like you get stuck on geometry that isn't there. Yeah. So you let's say I zoom into the characters and I spin the camera around. All of a sudden, I'll kind of hitch halfway through the turn, and then I'll to continue the turn. I then have to use Q or E, which is a button that will spin the camera around continuously. And it's but I would much rather have but it's a slow turn. I would much rather have a quicker turn on the mouse that doesn't seem to just lock into place. Zooming in and out didn't feel particularly pleasant either. It's a nice client. It doesn't look as good as the VR version. The UI itself, though, is quite nice.
I like the UI. I thought that looks fairly straightforward, and I think it made things that perhaps just the old-fashioned part of me likes be able to see everything at glance, seeing everything immediately to hand.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas obviously on the VR, you've got to I know it's not a big hardship to turn your hand over, look at your rack of your wrist. Or
so in Demeo, because you're playing with VR controllers, if you look at the back of your hand, you don't see any cards, right? So you have to flip to look over at the palm of your hand as though you actually have a hand of cards. on the desktop client, they're all on the bottom center,
Yes,
if I remember correctly.
that's right. That's what I saw.
So, I mean, the UI itself is okay. It's nice. It is nice. It's clean. I would imagine it would be a lot easier to stream if all of us were on the desktop client. The desktop client does have considerably lower requirements too, but as I said, it doesn't look as good. But I think from just a strictly usability standpoint and an experience standpoint, the VR version is the way to go. I already kind of figured that before the desktop version came out, just because Demeo plays so well in VR.
Yes.
But I mean, it's okay. It's fine.
Yeah, it's a very immersive game, Demeo.
Yes.
It does feel like you just sat around a table. It does that really well, feeling like you're sat around a table, watching you moving your pieces around, so forth. It is and it's also actually very quick to pick up.
Yes.
It's one of those games that's quick to pick up, but takes a while to master. But when you do sort of get the hang of, and when you do come with a plan together of how you're going to do something, it comes, and you just like really, okay, you do that, I do this, and we sort of, you work together and create and do something incredible, some really great stuff happens.
Yeah.
I think the sort of moment for me was when we poisoned on the second floor of our last game, we saw poison that sort of area. There's like a room with a spider in it, and I threw some more poison in there, and a spider got trapped in there, and there's poison everywhere. It's getting hit every turn, and then Zaber's elemental exploded and set fire to the entire room.
Yes, because we figured then that poison trails that spread across the floor every turn also like they're flammable.
Yeah.
So if a bomb goes off, the whole lot goes up to cause extra damage. That was fantastic.
Yeah, and it's something that's now handy to know.
Yep.
And it's also because I mean you've played quite a bit of Demeo, so it's nice that something that it's still stuff that you haven't seen before that's coming up, which is quite nice.
If it has happened, I'd not remembered it, but that was. I mean, sometimes just think about it. If that had happened to a bunch of small enemies, you wouldn't have really been all that impressed. But the fact that we were in this battle where we'd kind of had to box in a bunch of enemies, we were surrounded, and then that spider just got nuked. Yeah. Because we'd already took out a big spider at that point, had we not?
That was the first one that we set fire to.
Okay.
The second, there's another spider later on that we managed to position itself. Like by sheer luck, I blocked a set of stairs with a oil lamp.
Yeah.
There's an oil lamp already in the room, and spider got stuck between them. And I can't remember what set them off. Something set them off. I think it might have been accidental. I think it might have been aiming for the spider, missed and hit the oil lamp, and that did because they do like fire because the way Demeo does damage is each item explodes and does its damage to the next item explodes. Everything is done in a turn order, which means you can do things like when one of those things explodes, it does 5 damage. Then the other one explodes, that does 5 damage. Or then the freeze thing explodes, that does 5 damage.
Oh, I remember the spider you're on about now.
Yeah, and the Zaber was able to just go whack it in the head and kill it instantly.
Because we tried to position it as it was coming along the corridor.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I've also felt that I've played in a session I've now sort of got more of a hang of my character.
Yeah, because you play as the rogue, don't you?
Yeah, the assassin, I think they should call it.
Yeah.
Kai, I think is their name.
I can't remember any of the characters' names.
Yeah.
The shooty one, the armoured one, the backstabby one, and the singy one, I think.
Yeah, there's 5, isn't there, total?
Wait, shit, who have I forgot?
There's a wizard as well.
Oh, yeah, no one plays the wizard.
I actually think our little setup is quite good. The 3 we've got works quite well together.
Yeah.
I love being able to sort of sneak hide myself and sneak around and walk around places and scout out areas. That's quite handy. And when they do backstab, that can do insane damage on a backstab.
Yep.
If you get it right. So I have to say that was a good recommendation and very much enjoying it. And it's not too bad to edit either. So it's even bonus for me.
Mechanically, it's a very solid game. I mean, you'd think of so just a tabletop game. That must be really. No, it's really quite in depth. It's gorgeous. The audio's pretty good, and I mean, it's cheap. It's like what, £25?
Yeah.
You can get the VR version on sale, which in turn gives you the desktop version on Steam for as little as like £8 to £10.
Yeah.
It's a phenomenal game for that price.
I could also see it being done something like, if I could see it being done like if you've got like a few friends who've got laptops, you can see it sitting around the table on the desktop client.
Yep.
And you ever saw playing the tabletop game round a table for your mates, it's all getting the atmosphere. That I could see that working quite well.
Yeah. I mean, I really, really, really like it. Although, oddly enough, we had technical difficulties, didn't we? Where because I was playing on Linux, and last time we played in VR on Linux, the in-game chat worked just fine. When I moved over to the desktop client, the in-game chat didn't work at all. So we ended up having to do things over Discord. Should note that the game is cross-play, obviously, desktop to PC VR. You can also play between Oculus and Steam VR clients, and the standalone client can also jump in with. It's basically everything plays with everything else quite nicely. Yeah. It's that's one thing I appreciate about VR, is that because player pools are usually so small. It's not like Xbox or PlayStation, where you've got hundreds of thousands of potential players per platform. So they've said, well, let's just open the servers up. Make them all cross-play. I mean, it's all the same game, right? We've just optimized it onto a different code base. Bam, done.
Yeah. No, it's cool. Any news? I mean, Demeo seems like such an obvious game to put on something like the Switch.
Yes, I
is there any news
think
that
it is.
It just seems that. I mean, I actually think Demeo would, if also, it's probably the point they'd have to trim it down a bit, but it would be also something that could work quite well, like for mobile gaming.
Yes, I agree. I mean, it's like Armello. Armello, I think, would have played very well in a VR mode.
Yes,
that's another tabletop style game, but it doesn't have VR as yet. Because I think Armello has come out on Switch and consoles. So it would be interesting to see if the guys behind Demeo or the team behind Demeo can put it onto console. Because if they do, I'll buy it in a heartbeat.
Yeah,
straight out. If they release a Switch version, I'll have it.
Again, a great game that you can just sit around, or I said if they could put onto tablets or iPads or whatever. Again, you and your mates sat around all of a tablet out and just playing Demeo. I could see it being great fun.
Yep.
So it's quite a tough game.
Oh yeah. It scales. It scales. So as players join, enemies get stronger and have bigger health pools. As players leave, the health pools reset.
Now, what I was going to ask you is it because obviously you have a room code to like let people in, and the room code is very handy displayed very prominently where anyone can see it at all times.
Yeah.
Is it drop in, drop out? Can people like join you mid level?
Yes.
Oh, cool.
So as I've been streaming it with my mate Divine on and off when I could still wear my VR headset. As we were streaming, obviously the room code is just on the side, and people would say, well, can I join? And it's like, well, I'd then turn my head and go, well, there's the room code. If you want in, by all means, come in. And that's when we started talking to people. And it turns out that actually a lot of people play it in standalone VR on their Quest. They'll just sit on their couch, put on their headset, jump into Demeo, and see if they can find anyone streaming or playing. But now, that was before, they've now put in like a gathering hub. So you can actually go to like this kind of... I can't just imagine a room where other players can choose to connect to, and it fills with other players, and then you can arrange a game and all that kind of stuff. See, that wasn't always that. Yes. Yeah, the lobby that wasn't always there because the reason that I kind of stumbled on it was that I think it might be like themed after a game shop or something like that. Like I was just trying to think like what would it be? What would it have been called? Because they've done a lot with theming. So Demeo takes place in a basement of. The lassie who does the voiceover?
Yes.
She's supposed to be the games master. It's her basement.
Yes. Yes, it is, because she says, oh, it's my turn, and my turn to move the monsters.
Yeah.
Occasionally.
Which is... I love that world. I really do. It's just really neat.
When we were ready to load up and we were in the game, I did spend some time sort of walking around the room. Well, I say, dragging myself around the room, try and like see if anything was interactable, like the keyboard and the
It is on
computer or anything.
in the lobby system. Apparently, there's an arcade machine you can use.
Oh, is that cool? But yeah, but that was neat, and it's very they've really, and they are clear. I think we've got something we discussed previously, but they're clearly working on creating a feel of old school Dungeons and Dragons round the table type thing.
Yes.
Even the artwork on the levels or modules basically are basically old classic advanced Dungeons and Dragons style artwork.
Yeah. I mean, I love those because you can. Some people don't realize, but you can actually pick those up and flick through them. In Demeo, you can read the little bit about the story and all that kind of stuff. It's really, really nice.
Yeah, there's some little touches in it.
I mean, I will say that I did miss being able to like pick up models on the desktop version and like look at them and spin them around and stuff. That's one thing I really liked about the VR version. You almost felt like you could feel the models. You could pick them up and look around them. That's not really a thing in the desktop version, but so a lot of that kind of immersion is gone.
Yeah, I do sometimes find it awkward to pick up a model when they're behind like other enemies. You have to. I find you have to rotate to pick it up. I just find it a bit awkward to pick them up then.
Sure.
But if you rotate the camera, you get around that way. But if you try to grab, I did find that a couple of times. I'd go try and pick up a model and then pick up another enemy instead. And
I always move the camera around. Not so much on the desktop version because I find the desktop version to be quite clunky in that respect, as I mentioned. But in the VR version, I am always spinning around the camera, moving around the map and stuff because it's so comfortable to do, especially on the Quest controllers or the Rift controllers, the Oculus Touch controllers. On the Vive ones, it's fucking uncomfortable. It's terrible. And on the Index Knuckles, not particularly pleasant either. If I had to be honest with you, I would say Touch controllers first, then Index controllers, then Vive ones. Vive ones go in the bin, please.
Yeah. What I find is interesting watching us play, looking at the footage, is how we. Yeah, because you say everything has seemed quite far in. You all get fairly close, but I tend to position it like I'm sitting at a table still.
Yeah, sure.
I don't know why. I always have it set like as if I'm literally sat there, so I tend to be quite zoomed out.
Yeah, you said that on our first game, but I mean, I spent most of my playthrough. I actually spent face buried into the models, or at least in the VR client, I did. On the desktop version, though, I don't feel as comfortable zooming in that far, so I have to sit further out. Otherwise, it's really awkward to move around. As I say, the zooming in and moving around the camera just isn't. To me, it doesn't feel as good on the desktop version as it does in VR. You can move it around in like with WASD and Q and E, but again, it's not as smooth. So,
yeah, it feels like it was it feels like it's definitely like a VR game they've now tried to make a desktop version for.
Yes.
So it's not quite refined enough.
I'm glad actually that it's like that. I'm glad there are levels of jank in the desktop version that I don't like because I was very concerned. I'm really anal with VR in that I don't want you to bring desktop games to VR. Because they never work right. They never feel right. You have to build a game for VR. You know, you have to tailor it to the VR experience to make it really fit, to make it really work. The only exception I have to that is probably VR chat. But then that's just because I am literally just talking to other people. But it is obviously far more immersive in VR. With Demeo, I was like, well, if they're going to make a desktop version, did they really need to make a PC VR version? They feel completely different. The VR version is the superior client. There's no two ways about it. It's the best way to play. But the desktop version is still nice. And as I say, because it is much lower powered, it does have much lower requirements.
Yeah.
I mean, you can run it on anything. That I find great. The Demeo on VR, I don't find that to be quite... That's not a thing.
Yeah.
Would you still recommend if you haven't got VR? Would you still recommend them to get Demeo as desktop?
Yes. Yes.
Cool.
Most definitely. Most definitely. I mean, it's a game you have to play, but you've got to understand that it's so much better in VR.
Yeah.
You know, if you play it on desktop and you go, it's not quite as magical as you say it is, then you must try it in VR.
Yeah.
But as I said, the fact that you buy the desktop version, they give you the VR version. You buy the VR version, you get the desktop version. If you buy on Steam, at least, that's fantastic. Yeah. So the option is always there if you do manage to get, say, a hardware upgrade, if that's what you need, or if you do get a VR headset. You know, you've got the game.
That is fantastic. I'm good. I'm glad that. Because I want to hear you. Because also, I could just see a recording, but I want to hear it from your point of view.
Well, what I would say is potentially try it on our next game night. See how you find it, because you know
I'll do that.
You might find maneuvering and that around the board to be a bit easier on the desktop version, but just I much prefer the VR version. I mean, it was the first version I played. It feels really comfortable to me to play it in VR, especially on the Oculus Touch controllers. I think the mouse and keyboard. The issue I have is that it's not quite as. It's all or nothing when it comes to moving. So there's no kind of. It's not accelerated, so it doesn't start slow and then go fast. So like in VR, I can obviously slowly move the camera across the board. Whereas on the desktop version, I hit say W or D, and all of a sudden, bam! I move like full speed. And it just feels kind of jarring to position myself where I want to be on the board. So I found myself not moving around the board as much as I would in VR.
That sounds like one of the mistakes one of the things that most games do, like that style where you have a camera that moves. And it's one of the things that most people never notice. And if you ever do anything with a degree of animation in video and stuff, you'll know this as well. And I'm sure Skazz, you'll know this, is that things look better when they move or animate, so when they actually slightly accelerate up to speed and then decelerate at the end, rather than just like 0 speed, full speed, 0 speed.
Yeah.
So they actually, when you like do something in After Effects, you should, as a matter of course, if you're doing anything that's moving, you should ease it in. So it's sort of like slowly and it's only the case of like half a second. It's sort of like rather than just being on 0 to 100 naught, it goes like sort of 0, 10, 20, 50, 100, 10, back down again. And the same is true with camera moves in games that feel right. The camera actually doesn't move at full speed immediately. It actually slightly accelerates up to speed, only over half a second or so, if that.
Rubber banding it over a few frames.
Yes, exactly right. Yes, so it sort of gently pulls up, and maybe that's what they've not done. They've not put it in, so that's what feels a bit.
There might be an option. I didn't really look into it, to be honest, but I found it to be really jarring. So
yeah, it should be something that should be there, because that's something that's basically normally, I don't say it's hidden, but most people just don't realise is there, because it's one of those little things to make it feel right.
Yeah,
that you just put in. That's cool. Yeah, I'll give the because our next game let's choose. I'll give the desktop card a go to see what the difference is.
Sure.
And see how we get on. Cool. Oh, that's glad to put your opinions on that.
Yeah, I mean, I still like it. I still recommend it. It did feel quite weird, though, to play on the desktop version, but the fact that it is cross-play, cross-plat, is fantastic. And again, Demeo devs, if you do decide to bring it out on something like Switch or PlayStation, Xbox, tablets, I will buy it. Like, flat out, I guarantee you've got a market for this game on those devices.
It'd be fantastic. I said it'd be absolutely fantastic on tablets.
I don't think I've met anyone who has played Demeo that doesn't like it. It's just there's something about it. Even people who don't traditionally like tabletop games are like, that was amazing. Like I put my headset on and I jumped into the game, and 3 hours later I lift my headset up and it's dark outside. It's like, they didn't even realise the time had gone.
Yeah, the games do blow by quickly. I mean, both our games we've played have been over 2 hours long each.
Yeah.
And they don't feel like 2 hours when you're going through it. Generally, you spend most of your time on the first. It's surprising, actually. The first, you spend the majority of your time on level 2.
Biggest flaw, yeah.
Yeah. And then obviously you actually be spending a fair amount, a surprise amount of time compared to the final one. You have to be quick. I think in both our games, the final level we're on there only about 20 minutes max.
Sure.
Mainly because we got our asses handed to us.
Yeah, I fucked up on that last one. I was devastated.
To be fair though, I haven't used my potion of invulnerability, so if I'd done that, I'd have been okay, and I could have took him out.
Sure.
So
we all made really derpy mistakes right at the last minute.
Yep.
That was good.
Exactly.
That was a great match, though. Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah. There was points where we're just absolutely. It does a very good thing of, you always feel like you are up against it.
Yeah.
But it's always just about copable if you think about it. You always feel like, oh shit.
Every time you open up a door and it's full of enemies and you're like, oh fuck me. But it pretty much happens all the time. But it's always manageable. You've always got the tools available to you to clear these rooms. The game is never crazy unfair.
Yeah.
And again, because of the scalability, once someone dies, they actually do make it a bit easier for you to recover.
Yeah. Can I say, I love my poison bombs. Absolutely fucking fantastic. They particularly as they spread over like 8 or 9 turns, they just spread and spread and spread, hurting everything.
Useful.
They are very useful. I love them.
See, we've never really had anyone play as the assassin. I've played the assassin a few times. My main for most of my time in Demeo was actually the warrior.
What Zabe was using.
Yeah. And then I basically gave Zaber a crash course on tanking in the game. And then I swapped out to the archer that I'd had a few games with as well. But all the classes are pretty solid. I mean, there's the bard character, which is pretty neat as well. That's like the bard offers buffs and big damage, but it's a lot of kind of roll of the dice kind of stuff. It's a lot of RNG for the bard, and the sorcerer. There's a trick to it, but I've never played it because every time I've seen someone else play as the mage, they've really fucked it up.
Do you think the mage that class that if you know what you're doing?
Yes. I already know you're going to say yes.
Yeah. It's the experts class.
It's the class that you use to stunlock enemies. So if you need to stop an enemy from moving for a turn, just get the mage to zap it and it'll hold the enemy in place. They are disabled for the next turn. But obviously no one we have plays mage, and most people don't tend... They look at all of the other skills or use zap on enemies that are kind of insignificant.
Yeah.
Without really realizing what that skill is for. They use it as like a regular attack. It's like, well, you're kind of wasting it then. But, whatever.
Yeah.
Bit of practice.
No, we will beat that level.
You're damn right.
We will finish it.
It's not actually that bad. I mean, I've done it quite a few times.
No, both times we've got the boss down pretty darn close to death. It's just that last little at the end.
Yeah.
So because you say it scales, do the boss's health increase then with more players, or how's that?
Yeah. They get more attack.
Get more attack. Okay.
So she'll do quite a bit more damage. I think it's like 1 or 2 points per player. So does everything else on the map.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I see what you mean.
So every enemy on the map just gets stronger or weaker based on how many players there are. So you could go up against like a rat that has a 4, and then if you've got 4 more players, all of a sudden it does an 8 and takes out one of your teammates. Like in one hit. So you're just like, oh shit. So but then if say one player drops out, it'll lose a point in attack. So it slowly but surely becomes easier. So when we were playing, some of the enemies maybe had 2 or 3 attack. They might have only been 1 point in attack normally, but they were doing more damage because we had more players with us.
So what you're saying, Skazz, we need to do just before this enemy's turn, we need to two of us need to drop
like
out.
everyone DC.
Yeah, and then just reconnect afterwards.
Basically, yes.
Okay, good to know. Good to know. All right, fantastic. That's Demeo, but yeah, recommend from everybody, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So, right. So, I have been playing a game this week.
Have you?
I did. And I wanted to do another Let's Play, because I really enjoyed doing my Let's Play a few
You haven't
weeks
done one
ago.
of those in ages.
I did also Amnesia Rebirth a few weeks ago.
Well, yeah, but I mean,
there's
usually a big gap between when you...
Yeah, I did go through a phase doing quite a few. I sort of like drifted away. I thought, actually, I really enjoy doing these. No, watch them, but I really enjoy recording them.
Well, because it's nice to be able to sit down and have an actual session to play. That's one of the things I like about streaming. I have a nice session just to sit down and sink my teeth in. So if I am playing a story-driven game, it's not like, yeah, you just sat down for your game, but can you come and do something else? It's like, fucking, I'm trying to cutscene.
Yeah, and you sort of encouraged to actually finish it.
Yes.
Yeah, so I played this week, and this is why I say it's average, because the game is very much average. I played Murdered Soul Suspect.
Oh! I know that one. I think I had it back in the day.
It's 2014 it came out. And it's neat. I found it quite neat. It's definitely, as I said, it's never gonna win many awards. Let me put it away. It's never gonna be the greatest game ever made. In no respect. It's very much, and it's the game you play, but you get an enjoyable time, but you're gonna forget about it afterwards.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean. It's the same like a lot of films. A lot of films you can sit down and watch. They're not very good, but you enjoy watching them. This is where that game sits. And the plot line sort is you are a detective, and you are searching for a serial killer called the Bell Killer, and it's set in modern day Salem. And the game starts with you being kicked out through a window on the 4th floor of an apartment block by the killer. And this is where you use some sort of neatness to it, some of the neat things it does do. So, obviously, one of the things that when the game wants to get across is your character's backstory. Well, you're dying because you're not out the window, which means your life flashes before your eyes. So there's a whole set of cuts who basically give you your entire backstory in like a space of about 30 seconds. They saw little cut scenes, and you're this guy who was a didn't have a good upbringing. He ended up tied to life of crime. Eventually, he met his future wife. Her brother was a police detective. He basically helped set you straight and get you into got you to recruit as a detective in the police force by helping hide away a lot of your backstory and background. And you become a detective, and you're considered a good detective if you're gonna lie. So you're the detective. He doesn't quite follow the rules, and it's a bit of a rogue, but it somehow gets the job done, like every detective ever. And you still see his backstory. Then you wake up and you realise you look down, you basically look down at yourself. You see your body on the floor, and you realise you're a ghost. And you spend the entire game as a ghost. You have been murdered, and you are trying to solve your murder. And the mechanics how it works is you'll go through as you go and it's very much it's not quite a walking simulator, because there is some combat to it, and you are sort of walking around, but it's very much in that sort of area of things. There isn't a lot of combat in it. I wouldn't say combat is really combat, but I'll get to that. So you have to inspect and sort of investigate the areas you're in. They'll have like little investigation areas, and because it says at the start, your ghosts have abilities based on what they did during life, and your ability seems to be that if you touch something or sort of interact with something, you can sort of like almost get a memory off it.
Okay.
So like if you see like a picture that's dropped on the floor, you'll go near it and you'll be able to like see the few seconds before the picture got dropped what happened. And for each of these investigations, you have to find a number of clues, and they'll be fair. And most of this case is just a case of looking for the right thing and like hitting E to interact. Some clues you have to, you basically every sort of investigation will ask you like a question, like what happened here, or who did so and so see. And you look at the clues, and then when you want to sort of complete the investigation, you basically press like Q. and you'll get all the clues up, and then you have to answer that question by selecting the right clues. And some only need 1, some might need 3, some need 2, etc. And if you get the right clues, then you'll then get like a little cutscene of what, like the whole sort of like stuff sort of tied together of what happened.
Mm-hmm.
Now you have these all. There's like these all when you're doing this all investigations, like these little shield icons at the bottom of the screen. That every time you get it wrong, one disappears. Now I don't know. I never fucked up enough to actually use up all 3 shield icons. So I don't know what happens if you lose them all. Do you just like reset, reload? I don't know what happens, how that works, or does the game just carry on, but you don't have the right information, which I don't see it can do. But I don't know what happens there. But to be honest, it's quite. If you actually sit down and think about it, and the answer I say is it's the obvious answer. Generally speaking, if you try to be too clever about it, you'll pick the wrong thing. But if you sit there and think about it, it's the obvious answer. There's like one bit where there's because you can actually like you have something with ghostly abilities, you can like possess people. So you can possess if you possess some people, they're like writing in a notebook, you can like sort of look through their eyes and see what they're writing, and use that to get clues. You can also influence people. So if you possess them and you influence them, and you then sort of like one of the clues you got, you sort of pick it, you sort of like nudge them. So like there's a person earlier on who's like she's talking to the police, and she's a bit sort of shaken up. She's seen the murderer run away, so she's a bit shaken up, and you basically need to influence her to get the answer. And you're looking for what clue gives it away, and the answer is the suspect. That's all you know. There's no like sort of fancy. I shouldn't be clever about it and think like something. So it was just no. The suspect was the thing that sort of gave it away, and then she jogs her memory and she sort of like tells police the right thing.
Sure.
And once you get that, then obviously you get the investigation there, and then they'll cut in and sort of advance the plot. So that's all the bread and butter of the game is these little investigations as you go round. To hinder your way around, there are these like portals to hell in the ground. If you walk over them, these arms come up through the ground, they grab you and try and basically pull you to hell. So you have to avoid those. And you can't. And later, when you get the ability to teleport, you can't teleport over them. The only way you can get over them is if you possess somebody or something. And when you possess people, you have no real control over them. But what you can do is perhaps like you could like poltergeist things, like activate like noise and stuff. So if you could like activate something noisy nearby, and then as the person walks over the sort of demon area to go see it, you then possess them. As they walk back, you can then depossess them on the other side.
Sure.
So you use that sort of transfer across. But sometimes actual demons turn up, and you're told they are like souls who basically are. Because everybody who's there sort of traps, sort of in purgatory. It's not quite purgatory, not actually a different place, but people. It's the whole idea of the soul. People are still there because they've got unfinished business and can't move on, and that's why you're hanging around. You can't move on because you've got unfinished business. And it's all said that people who don't move on, they become demons.
Sure, they eventually become corrupt because they lose their.
Yeah.
Okay.
And demons will want to steal your soul to feed themselves. Yeah. And so you can hide from them. So you'll find like these little ghostly residues sort of like dotted around the levels that you can hide in. But the demons will come and search. If the demons have seen you, they'll search the ghostly residues looking for you.
Right.
And you can teleport between them by just looking at the next one, pressing the R key. You ain't got infinite range, but you can teleport. So you sort of teleport away, and eventually the demon will get away and walk off. But if you can sneak up on the demon, you can exorcise it. Perform exorcism on it. And the way this works is you basically have to press on the keyboard setup, you press the R key to sort of like start, and then it will tell you one of the WASD keys and either the left or right mouse button. And then you have to press the correct key it tells you, and it's randomized, so every time you do it's different. And the correct key on the keyboard and the correct key on the mouse button and if you do that, you'll exorcise the demon and get rid of it.
Excellent.
Yeah, and so you basically wait through, and it's the level designs are quite nice. There's not many levels but they are all sort of very nicely detailed. One of the things it's all said is that and this is basically because as a ghost you can walk through things because you're a ghost, but they're like ghostly remains from the past. So like there'll be like remains of the old Salem city that burnt down everywhere. You can't walk through those. So you have to sort of like walk around those bits, but you can't if they're like and any building that's been consecrated, you can't walk through the walls of the outside walls.
Sure.
So you have to wait for someone to open a door for you. Luckily, quite early on, you find a medium who can see you, and called Joy, and she basically tags along with you because she can open the doors for you, so you can go into places.
That's
Once you're
awfully
inside the
kind of
build,
her.
yeah, she's not particularly pleased with you being around. She doesn't particularly like you because she doesn't really like the fact that ghosts. She doesn't like advertise that ghosts can see her. Because at one point you go to a graveyard, and you start talking to her. She's like, "No, just don't talk to me directly. Because if the other ghosts realise that I can see you, they're going to come crowding around me to speak to me, want me to help them."
Sure.
So, which is fair, I suppose, because you find lots of ghosts who are dotted around. You find who are like sort of got unhappy with what they are, and some quite nasty. There's some pretty creepy guys. Like you find a dead stalker, and the woman he was stalking, he's still following her in death. He's just following her around because like he had been murdering all anyone like she got involved with. He used to kill, but the last person she got involved with killed him instead. But now he's dead. He can just stalk all the time. It doesn't matter because she can't see him. He can just be with her all the time.
I suppose because he is doing the thing that was kind of his unfinished business, he ain't going to turn into a demon anytime soon either. So
well, presumably not. Yeah. There's another guy who's a murderer who got killed, and there's quite a few nasty people about. But yeah, actually, once you're inside a building, you can walk through the walls and what have you, no problem at all. You can walk through people, anything. It's just the old stuff. There's like and all the levels are linked by there's like a central hub which is like sort of Salem town centre, and that's like links all the levels together. So it's like a little mini hub areas that walks around. So Salem appears to be a very small town. You walk between all these places, and that feels quite neat. How everything sort of feels linked together. It feels sort of like rather just like one sort of air level though. It sort of feels sort of linked together, which is quite nice. It's nice.
Sure.
You'll also, as you go around these places, you also come across ghosts that you can help. These ghosts who've got unfinished business, and if you sort of like look for the clues and they'll basically solve the clues of why they're there. You can tell about it. And if you do that, they basically get really happy, and they then pass over to the afterlife. Basically, they sort of look up and sort of fade up into the light. So most of them are fairly straightforward. It's like just look in the area nearby, you'll find the clues and you'll get it. There's one where it's like a drunk driver, and finding all his clues was a nightmare. I spent age. I think it wasn't until I got to right to the end I suddenly just got to the end and suddenly spotted the last clue I needed to actually go, oh, I see what happened here, and solve his case.
Is there any particular benefit to doing those, or
no? Just side missions.
Oh, okay.
It's all just side missions. Just you get the achievement for doing it. That's all it's a benefit. There's no benefit to us. Yeah. There's also like there's plenty of things there. It's of that era in console game where there's gonna be hundreds of collectibles everywhere. So you can collect your wife is dead. She died previously because when you die, before you go about to go to heaven, you're on the outskirts of heaven, she comes to see you and says like, you can't come yet, you've got unfinished business, please do it so we can be back together again. She died a few years previously to the game, and you can find like little notes she left behind. You can find like certain places there'll be like moments in your life, so you'll find like little picture of you and your wife together, and it'll be like taking a picture on the pier or getting married. There's like plaques in town discussing all different places in town, historical plaques. There's bits about the witch trials. There's notes from a diary of a medium who was helping the police investigate the case. Always all collectibles. The sort of main collectibles you'll come across is in all the sort of areas or levels, they have like this object that you can reveal by pressing R to reveal it, and then you can investigate it and collect it. And these are bits of a story. And once you get all of them in like one zone, you'll unlock the story. And they all have names. So like, the Bell Tower Banshee, and you've got to collect 8 of these to unlock it. and they all look the same for the level. So the Belltail Banshees or Saws, and there's one called the Eternal Flame, which is all like gas canisters. And if you collect them all, you then unlock a little ghost story. And you can play a little ghost story. It'll be like written by somebody who's usually sort of, it's clearly sort of like the aftermath after it's happened. They're like sort of like being interviewed to somebody or writing it down, and they'll tell you a story about a little ghost story, basically what happened to them and how they got creeped out by the whole thing. And they're quite neat. They're quite neat for you to collect. I would say none of the collectibles are hard to find. I think I just basically checked every room, and they are pretty well lit up. And I collected all. I think there's 260 odd collectibles in the game. I probably got like 220 of them.
Okay.
And I got all the. I nearly missed one of the ghost story ones, but I managed to get all of the ghost story ones in every level, most apart from the one, the church level, which was because I was just being an idiot and completely walked past it. I got all the ghost stories first time for each level. I got them all. And you can go back to levels afterwards. You can revisit them.
Oh, that's neat.
Yeah.
Does anything change on revisits, or is it just to...
No. Well, there's one level that you go to twice as part of the story, and things do change.
Okay.
But other than that, no, the levels don't really change. There are a few little things change. So when you first die, there'll be like... The police will be set a cordon around your, like, where you're dead. Then once the time you finish with Parliament and come back out, that's all disappeared.
All right.
So there's a few little bits that change, but in general, no. And you can do that right to get to the final mission, and it will tell you, once you go through this mission, you can't come back.
A nice point of no return, sure.
Yeah, a nice point of no return, and it really does mean no return, as in it will save after you go through.
Oh.
So you can't even load the save back up. That's it, you've gone point no return, you ain't coming back at all.
A proper one.
Yeah.
Unlike all the other scare screens we see these days, that one's a proper one.
Yeah. For what I understand, though, is if you then start the game again, you don't have to recollect it. Everything you've already collected is already collected.
Yeah, like
still.
a New Game Plus style mode.
Yeah. So you don't have to do it all again. So you just pick up the missing stuff. The actual storyline I quite liked. It's nothing. It's a fairly short game. I think I played about 9 hours, 8 to 9 hours. But actually, I don't mind that. For those sort of style games, I actually quite like them quite short. I like to get through like 10 to 12 hours. I find myself on liking those games more and more these days.
That's an average console game.
Yeah, I find those games. So I can complete those in like a week.
Sure.
In a few sessions. I do like sort of big and depth RPGs still, obviously, but I do like the game which I can just blitz through in a week. Sometimes quite nice. It's fairly easy. I wouldn't say there's no sort of bits where it's like, oh, this is quite hard. I want to really sort of work past this. Nothing particularly challenging to it. My biggest sort of gripe is it's a fixed control scheme. You cannot do anything. The control scheme is completely fixed. It's one of those games where you get a picture of the keyboard, parts labelled. The trouble is, it's not totally consistent with how things work. So sometimes when you want to back out of something, you press the right mouse button. Sometimes you have to press the enter key, sometimes you have to press the escape button.
Oh.
Yeah. And because it's like, and it's a bit inconsistent. And the controls, the things that I found the most annoying, that they're not always consistent. I frequently push the wrong button, which would do something I wasn't expecting it to do. And certain things like when you're like exercising the demons, trying to press. I actually found surprisingly hard. If I'm holding, because you've got to hold R while you're doing it, and then press a key combination. I found it actually quite hard to press the D key when I'm pressing R down at the same time. It's just the way my hands move on the keyboard. I actually found that it's mostly just me. The way I found my hands move on the keyboard, I found that quite an awkward position to do. So it's like whenever D comes, like, oh, for fuck's sake, comes up. That was actually quite awkward. I mean, that's probably just me who's got dodgy hands.
That is a bit of an odd combination.
It is, yeah. If you try and do it on your keyboard, anyone's got a keyboard, try and do it now. Imagine you've got your hands on WASD, you've pressed the R key, which for me, pressing the R key, the nearest hand, my finger would be the key I normally press D with.
Yes.
So then you've got to try and use like your other fingers to press the D key. That's quite an uncomfortable position to go in.
You have to shift your entire hand over one row.
Yeah. It feels very much arbitrary how someone decided to do it. It feels very no one's. It feels like the person whoever did set that system up hasn't really bothered to think about it or actually perhaps try it that well.
I'm curious. Well, because it was a console game, wasn't it? It was an Xbox
Yes, it
360
was.
game, I think.
Yes, it was, and PlayStation.
Yeah, I'm curious as to what all of these buttons would be mapped to on a 360 pad, because I mean, it was. This game comes from an era of PC games where controls were still quite jank. So you'd get like a console port and the buttons would be awful. So like, for example, the first few Assassin's Creed games fall into this category. It wasn't until like Assassin's Creed 3 where they started to put in universal mappings and that kind of thing.
Yeah. And you can't remap keys in this game. You can't redo that at all.
Sure.
There's no remapping option available.
Yeah,
it's a bit weird. I asked because my sister, when I was playing this game, I was telling my sister, "Oh yeah, we've played that." And I asked her what the controls were like on the console. They also played on PlayStation, and she couldn't remember.
Sure.
She couldn't remember how it worked.
Well, it's ancient.
Yeah, exactly. It's ancient. I'm not. I suppose I'm not totally unfair. I wasn't so keen on the whole exercise doing by pressing this extra combination. I think the fact that I've managed to sneak up on one should be good enough, in my opinion, because they're not a big part of the game. They only sort of like appear in case of hindrance, and they're just more annoying than anything. So I would if I'd been the designer, I'd probably got the R key's good enough. If they can get close enough to them, let them have it. I see what they're trying to do. They're trying to create a bit of tension there because you can fuck up. And I fucked up an awful lot the first time again because I kept pushing the wrong fucking keys.
Sure.
I really fucked that up for ages. I had to go hide and then go again. And at that point, you don't get to the stage like, fuck it, I am going to defeat these things if it kills me.
I do find that in a lot of cases these days, unless it's something like a shooter or like a 4X game, strategy game, something like that, if it's like a generic like third person game or whatever, or just like Murdered or whatever, realistically, keyboard and mouse mappings are dog shit. So like if it's anything from like the Assassin's Creed games all the way up until realistically, well now like Dark Souls 3, Elden Ring, that kind of thing. If you're playing on keyboard and mouse on PC, give the fuck up. If it's not a like I said, a shoot or an RTS or something that was traditionally a PC game, these games are made with control pad in mind.
Yeah, optimized for it.
Yeah, they're not made to cater to keyboard and mouse. They might give you the option for keyboard and mouse, but it will probably play terribly.
Yeah. Particularly if you can't remap.
Well, sure.
Yeah. So, but yeah, so overall, that's what I sort of said. This game is very much, I would say, put it in the case of it's very average.
What made you play it?
I was just looking through my game. I basically thought, I want to do another Let's Play. So I went on How Long to Beat. And I basically put all my games How Long to Beat. You can put your Steam key ID in, and it'll tell you how long each game takes. I thought, I'll look for games about 10 hours long that I can play through in about, because I knew I'd get through that in about a week. Or in like 2 or 3 sessions, I could get through it. So I went round it, and I come across. I thought, I had that ages. I picked that up ages ago, and I wanted to play through it for ages. So I'll do that. And that was basically it. That was literally, I just went down the list of all the games, and that popped up there. I thought, oh, there we go. I'll do that one. That's as complicated as my choosing process went on that, in that situation. But I'm glad I did actually. I enjoy my time. I enjoy my time of it. It's a bit janky. I mean, it's a sad game because it killed the developer. They basically didn't do very well in reviews, and it didn't sell particularly well. And basically, the developers went under afterwards. So it killed the developers off, sadly. Published by Square Enix, which tells you a lot as well. But yeah, I enjoy my time. I say it's very much those like, it's like the same category as a trashy film you sit down to watch. You know it's not like Casablanca, but it's okay. You don't mind. You're just going to sit there and enjoy and have a good time, type situations.
Sure.
So yeah, I'm glad for it. But I did record Let's Play. It's all recorded. I just need to edit it all together. And that will be appearing on the channel hopefully I'm hoping to get the first drops either this week or next.
Neat, cool.
Very cool. That's it. That's it for gameplay. I do have there is something I do want to mention because I have a slight confession to make.
Oh.
I've drawn a bit of a dark side.
Oh.
So picture the scene. Many years ago, I wrote some software for a friend of mine to manage one of his farm. I wrote this about 10, 15 years ago. I built it in Visual Basic. That tells you how long ago I made this software. And he still used it. And he came to me and said, I really would like to have an app that works with it now.
Oh dear.
I said, I'll be honest with you, I know nothing about app development, and I don't think an app would even work with it. I don't even know how I'd link it together because it uses an access database, it uses Visual Basic. I'm not sure if that's even possible. So I sat down for about, I thought, do you know what I need to do? I need to do this as a web application, which means I need to learn proper full stack web development. So I started learning full stack web development. So I've actually been teaching myself. I've been teaching myself CSS, Skazz.
Ugh.
That's how scary it's got. Yeah.
Ugh.
Actually, to be honest, now I know a bit of how CSS works. It all makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. It just doesn't mean I have to like it.
Oh no. And I have got to start going to JavaScript as well at some point. But so that's what I've been doing, Rick. But there's some weird things have happened to me in times since. Literally this afternoon, I found myself browsing MacBooks. I don't know why. I just suddenly had an urge to buy one.
Oh,
I was like, shit. I'm doing too much I've been working web development too much. I'm trying to be drawn towards the MacBooks all of a sudden.
And now you start to need to go to Starbucks and.
Mate, I've been drinking. I've had my hair cut. Yeah, I actually nearly ordered a cappuccino the other day. My normal black coffee. It's like, what the fuck is happening to me? I do one CSS course, and it all goes wrong.
You drippy hipster.
And I'm going to I'm going to come with spiky hair, but in a cool way, and I'm going to be sitting in Starbucks.
No, mate, hipsters are never cool. They think they're cool.
Mate, that describes me to a T.
I was gonna say they ain't even fucking. They think they're cool. They ain't even chilling.
By that logic, I've been a hipster for years. So
we all think we're cool. None of us are cool.
No. If at any point if you have to describe yourself as cool, you're not cool.
Exactly.
Only other people who you think are cool can describe you as cool. But only if the majority of people think they are cool. And you get this weird inverse situation of coolness forms.
Chances are, if you think they're cool, they're probably a pleb.
Yes, exactly, yes. There is very still standardization of coolness out there. And unfortunately, what is cool changes on a decade-by-decade basis.
I mean, you lose coolness every time. Like, every day, as you get older, your coolness just drains away. Your ability to get it just goes away.
Isn't that a bit from The Simpsons where like Grandpa System is talking to Homer and goes, I used to be with it, then it changed, and now I'm not with it anymore.
Yeah, that's about right. That's it.
And he's like, and when you're young, you don't understand it. But as you get older, go, yeah, I get his point now.
Yeah.
I get his point totally. Yeah, I get it. I used to be with it. Now all these youngsters on their TikToks.
Things that you'd used to think were completely stupid, and then there's like, oh shit, that took off. Really? Wow. Okay.
Wait, Instagram is still a thing? What?
I know. The one that really got me back in the day was Spotify.
Yeah.
That's when I realised, I just didn't have a clue. I just didn't have a clue. Because I was like, why would you stream music? That's so fucking stupid. Like,
yeah.
What happens if you haven't got access to the internet? Because this is like way back before, everyone had smartphones and, 3G, 4G was a thing. You'd still have like 2G and stuff. I was like, what? You're streaming music? What do you do when you're not at your home internet connection? Because not everyone had Wi-Fi back then either. I'm like, what? Or at least not where I lived, because I lived out in the back of the boonies. And it's like, what good is that? And now, like, no one owns music. No one owns anything. They just stream everything. It's like,
unless you're old-fashioned like me, still has an iTunes account, still buys his music and downloads it.
Mate, I've got a DAP So that's like the modern version of the MP3 player just sat like a foot away from me with headphones plugged into it. I don't do stream. I have a music streaming account, but I'm like, if I really like it, I'm gonna have a copy of it so that I can just disconnect from the internet for a bit and just chill out.
Yeah, but the same thing happened with video streaming. So many people, I mean, Blockbuster famously thought video streaming was not going to be a thing on the internet, and they famously Netflix went to them with a idea to stream, stuff, and went to them, and they said no, so they went, oh fuck it, we'll do it ourselves then.
Yep.
And streaming is now the default way. The default way to consume media now, for particularly video media.
Yeah.
It's just we're just getting old, Skazz.
I agree.
Imagine gonna be like in 20 years' time. Oh,
I don't know. I just want to throw out there, man. I mean, I feel really old when I look at like top streamers on Twitch and stuff, and I look and I'm like, I was streaming before you, and you guys are children compared to me. It's like, damn. Like when I do VR stuff, I'm like, holy shit, the average person in VR is like 20.
Yeah.
You know, and like they start to think of themselves as fucking old, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, man, I'm 36. I'm fucking ancient.
Other day at work, with a policeman visit us, and I thought, God, he looks young. I thought, oh God, I've got to that stage of my life now. Policemen look really young. Well, he can't barely be out of college.
Right. Here's when I knew I was old. Okay, the wife and I have to make a trip to the hospital. The doctor comes in. And I'm like, wait, this guy's a fucking doctor?
Yeah.
Huh? I was like, dude, how fucking... Because, like, he had this, like, grin on it, like, this smug-ass fucking grin, as all young people do. And he was doing the whole trying to be cool thing, but trying to be professional because he was nervous, because he was still young and new to the job and that. And we were like... Because even the wife was taken back, like, how the fuck old are you, dude? And he was, like, 2 years younger than my wife. And I was like, holy shit, what have I done with my life?
Yeah. I knew we were getting old, Skazz, when about approximately, I think it was 2 years ago, we sat on podcast in your shed or garage, discussing the merits of either using a tumble dryer versus line drying your clothes.
When you can start talking about curtains and cushions, you're old, man.
Yeah. When you start debating what design kitchen you should have, that's what you know you're getting old.
Oh, mate, do you use a fabric softener? No, mate, that's rich people stuff.
Yeah, I don't.
Because like the average kid's like, wash my clothes. What? What? I was like, yeah, because someone else does it for you, asshole.
Yeah. Oh, but yeah, old age. But yeah, if I do turn full hipster, Skazz, you have permission to shoot me.
Oh, you shouldn't have said that. If Ram disappears, well, it was me.
Yeah. I thought, here lies Ram, became a hipster at the age of 36.
Don't worry, mate. I'll put you out of your misery.
Mercy killing.
Oh, mate.
Yeah, that was it. I just wanted to just reveal that I joined the dark side and will be building web apps. So
that's beautiful. That is absolutely beautiful. Because one of my mates is a web developer, and I laugh at him all the time.
Yeah, it's I'm fulfilling a customer's demand, and for what they need, it's just the easiest way to do it, because I don't need to develop an app for the phone. Then I can just use the website interface to do it for me.
Sure.
So, but you never know. The only good thing is, if I do it, I can actually. Whereas last time I built it from bespoke, and I'd have to, if someone else wanted, I had to go physically install their machine and set it up for manually. If I do it web-based, I could actually, in theory, if I really wanted to, actually just sell it to other people, or market it a bit or so. Maybe I'll end up becoming like the next Bill Gates because I made a program that runs a farm. Who knows?
That's how you make your millions.
Yeah, the irony. So
you'll need your millions to be able to afford those coffees, mate.
I will.
And then MacBooks.
Every year the accountants can go, You spent 80 grand at Starbucks last month. How? I was coding a new module for the website. Where do you expect me to do my coding? Now, if you excuse me, I've got to drive my Tesla down to the house, down the road.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I've got to go have my go. I'm going to go get a smoothie.
Ugh. I'm too old for this shit.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. So as you get in the Tesla, I'll put some music on. Oh, that's interesting music. Oh, it's a new band. You won't have heard of them.
Yeah, but no fucking hell, dude. Don't.
Yeah, you won't know this band yet. Yeah. So, well then, I think let's say from you, Skazz.
Not this podcast, but next podcast. But I do want to throw out there, right? Spoiler alert: it's going to be about Monster Hunter again. Monster Hunter Rise. I already spoke about Monster Hunter Rise a long time ago on Switch, so we've been playing the PC version. But I've managed to introduce a whole bunch of people to Monster Hunter, and get a bunch of people, including said web developer, into PC gaming.
There you go.
So, yeah, mate, great fun. I'll talk about it in the next podcast when we all finish.
Yeah, I was saying, isn't that on our? I think that's on our list, isn't it?
Yes,
Games
you
list,
guys decided to waltz off and play games that weren't fun, or play games about getting kicked out of 4th floor windows. It's not my problem.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
But I mean, if you guys still want to play, there's plenty of us around to fill a team. There's a new expansion coming out end of next month. So now is kind of the time to really get into it because there's shit tons of content in that game. Yeah. Runs brilliantly on PC, even a potato.
Oh, that's what we'll have to do then.
So you and Zoe should still be able to play it.
How dare you? But yes, we will do. We'll do. Okay, then, that sounds good. All right, then. Well, on that note, then, thank you much, everybody, for joining us this evening. You can join us on our next podcast on the 4th of June at 9:30 GMT +1. You can also join us for our games night. This Tuesday is our next one. We're still streaming Demeo. Now it's the 24th, and they'll be at 8:30 GMT +1. You can join me on Twitch at twitch.tv/SufferGram.
And twitch.tv/Skazzius, SK4ZZI0US.
Yes, and we look forward to seeing you on our next podcast, and we may be able to convince Saber to join us.
Yeah, hopefully.
Fingers crossed.
He sent us the 3-person stream layout. Excellent.
And he's done the graphics with his name on it.
He has.
There you go.
There's even one that says guest, and I was halfway tempted just to be a dick and make it so that his camera was in the guest slot without his name on it. No one will know who you are, Danish man.
All the people join us for our games nights will know who he is. He's got fans.
No one watches that fucking...
My sister was so pleased when he came back. She really missed him.
Oh, bless.
So thank you very much for joining us, guys, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Rock and take it easy, guys.
Bye.